Welcome to Hanging Out with Robert, that's me. This video contains things that I tinker with throughout the day. For step-by-step detailed instructions of those tasks, you can click on the links in the comment section below. I plan on leaving this video accessible for about 30 days. After that, you can view it through my Patreon account. This video also has tips and tricks that I've learned over the years. So, thank you very much for watching. In this video, we're going to remove and test and reinstall the starter on this Chrysler 300. It's a 99 model. We don't know how to jump the starter and the car is not cranking. It could have a transponder issue or a starter issue. So we've replaced things in the key entry system, transponder and stuff like that. We've used some information that may not be correct about it key needing to be reprogrammed, but to eliminate that, we're going to pull this starter, test it, and reinstall it if it's good. Is under the catalytic converter right here. Back in there, it is hard to get to. Really can barely see it. So you go under the car and get it. You could take this wheel off or just jack the car up, put a jack stand under it, under the frame, crawl under there and get it like I'm getting ready to do here. I used a ratchet with a 13mm, ratchet with a 15mm, and this boxed end here and a needle nose pliers to undo the wire to the solenoid. So those are basically the 3-4 tools you need to get this starter out of here. So I pulled the 13mm off of the back of the starter. You really can't see it, but it's right there. I pulled that nut off. Then I unclipped the wire because you need that wire undone to get this starter to swing out the way you need it to get it out. You can actually get that 13 on and off with the ratchet like this. Next, you got to get these 3 bolts out the back of the starter. One here, you get a socket through this way. One here, I got with a boxed in, and one up there, I got with a ratchet. I got these 2 out first before I could get that top one out. To get this starter out, you got to pull the back side of it towards the driver's side wheel and wiggle it until it is able to be slid out, and then drop the nose down so it wiggles out this way, and then you can pull it this way enough even with that solenoid wire, so you pull it out under the catalytic converter. Even with the solenoid wire connected, you can get it out this way. Now that it's hanging down, you got to get that last wire loose right here. This green wire going to the solenoid. So the wire connection here, it's got to push down. You squeeze it to get it to unplug from the starter. This one wasn't easy, but it did come out finally. I had to help it out by nudging it on this side with a screwdriver. And there it is, out and on the ground. In this video, we're going to test a starter to see if it works. When your starter is installed in the car, the mounting bolts provide a ground for it to the transmission and engine. And then the power lead from the battery, like we have here, goes right to that bolt here that's bolted on with your power wire, 13mm usually. And the starter has this power hookup all the time. When you turn your key to the start position, the car's starting circuit is energized and power is then put to the starter solenoid. So we're going to simulate that with the battery hooked up to the starter like this to test this starter. So you can do that at home. It's not the safest thing in the world to do. You might want to have some rubber gloves on or something, but this is how you can test your starter. You have a good battery or jump box. Your ground is hooked up to the body of the starter. You got your positive line hooked up to your positive cable. Now you want to get a jump wire, which I have here.
It's called alligator clips.
I'm going to put this jump wire, I put alligator clips on the end of it. You could put a spade on it, whatever. You connect it to the starter solenoid little wire post there, and then you take this other end. The thing actually moved over and touched the dang starter jumper over here, but you take the other end and you jump it to this positive or to any positive, and it should shoot that Bendex out and rotate the starter. So there it is. When you pull the wire back off, it should disconnect the starter. So that's the spark and jolt that you don't want hitting you. So that is how you test your starter at home. In this video, we're going to be replacing the battery on this Chrysler 300. It's a 99 model, M series. Let's get started. First thing we're going to do is disconnect the ground, which they call the negative, from there. Push that aside. Next, we're going to unscrew this air vent going to this air box so we can pull this air box up and out of the way. Take the clamp loose, work it back off of the air box. Takes two hands. Once you get that loose, you lift this air box up and out of here. It's got a little stud there that you pull it off of. Now that the air box is out of the way, had a couple grommets go in the fender well there. You got the hold down. Looks like either a 10 or 12 millimeter. Take that loose there, take that loose there, get that hold down off. Then you come under here and you take these little fender well things loose with a small Phillips screwdriver. Pull two of these. Then you unclip this so that you can pull this back a little bit and shift the battery back and lift it out. Next, I took the two holding pins out there. I'm going to take this one out under here. I think it's a 1/4 inch drive. These you just, sometimes they screw out. You just pull them out far enough to just unplug them. I use a trim clip puller to work this trim out, this clip out. Pull it out, then get it out of there so you can move this guard out of the way a little more. Looked like we had another one here. Somebody screwed in here. We need to unscrew that. Get all these screws out of here so I can get this piece out here in front of behind the battery. Next, I removed that hold down screw there. I'm going to remove that one down there and move that bracket out of the way. Take the battery terminal loose there, move it out of the way, slide the battery up and back until you can reach the other terminal. So let me slide this thing back a little further, get the other terminal and take it loose. So now that that piece is out, you can slide the battery back if you got the wheel turned to the right, and then unhook the other terminal there. I got that other post loose. Now I should be able to shift that battery back toward the tire and lift it up out of this hole. Make sure your batteries match. You got your positive there, your positive here, negative there, negative there. Post on the same side. If you don't make sure that battery posts on the same side, you put it in a car, hook it up, you're going to damage a lot of electronics in the car. So I'm going to put that bracket back on there, set that down in there, and secure it. When you set the battery down in here, set it in right. The posts go towards the passenger side. I set it in backwards, had to pull it back out, push it back in. So be careful about that, because you don't want to hook up the cables wrong. Now hook up the cables, secure this bracket, put your splash guard back in. After you get both battery terminals tight, and the hold down bracket on. Put you some anti-corrosion battery lubrication on there. Now you put this splash guard back in and you'll be all done. And then put this air box back in. Then you'll be done. These two pegs right here go in these two holes right there. This hole and this hole. First thing you want to do is take this clamshell off. To do that, you straighten out your steering wheel and you push in on this and pry it apart. It has tabs in there, so you push in and pull this up and it'll come apart. Do that on both sides and lift it up, and then you remove the bottom. So you pull the two screws out the bottom of this. Somebody's destroyed one. This is a T15. Next, you take this twerk out here to pull your handle off. It's a T27. Unscrew it and then just pull the handle straight out from your tilt. I am back here with this 850R. The other day when it was running, a check engine light came on and we scanned it and it said it had a misfire on number 1. Yesterday I stopped by. First thing I want to know is the compression good? Because I checked the compression a couple months ago. It was 175-ish across the board. So I did a compression test. Didn't have any compression in 3 cylinders. Now the guy had been trying to start the car before I got here yesterday. So I think this car has some really bad gas in it from sitting around. And when he tries to start it, it's washing down the cylinders, making it have no compression. Then there may be injectors leaking from sitting around, and then the fuel pump may be weak from sitting around. But I pulled all the plugs out yesterday. They were all fouled out. So we're going to put some fresh plugs in it, put a jump box on it, and see if it'll fire right up. And man, we probably are going to drain all the fuel out of it and put some fresh gas in this car, because you know it's got all those symptoms. Now, I've had this happen a couple of times in the past. Letting cars sit more than 90 days with gas in them is really not good. I recommend you only put enough gas in the car that you'll run it out within 90 days. And if you are not planning on driving that car within 90 days, it may be better to drain the tank, then let it sit with gas in there, that gas going bad on a pump, stuff like that. But I've taken a couple of cars like this, driven them. They don't drive that smooth at first. Get about 50 miles on them, emptied the tank, put a fresh tank in there, drive that tank out in a day or two, and man, normally by the second or third tank of gas, man, they're smooth as silk. But this one's been sitting around. That's not good. So let's go ahead and get these plugs replaced and see what we got. Forgot to mention, I did wet those cylinders down yesterday. Got compression up, but I hit the spark plugs on the wire wheel and I think it destroyed the plug. So we're going to replace these plugs, see if this thing will fire up. I just wanted to make sure it didn't have a burnt valve. The compression done less than 50 miles ago was 175, so I'm not really concerned about the engine. Just gas, injectors, fuel pump. Look at the amount of gas on these spark plugs. They are soaked in gas. So all that gas being in the cylinders will wash down the cylinder walls and cause you to have no compression. Not exactly sure why that's happening. Maybe because the gas is bad and keeps trying to start it. Connected the jump box and it seemed like the keys in the ignition and on. Yep. Oh my gosh. Totally drained the battery down from yesterday. Alright, let's see if this thing will fire up. Fired right up. Plugs are fouled. It's missing right now. So I'm going to keep it running for a little bit. See if we can get this mist to go away. Fired right up, but when I came outside to disconnect my jump box so I wouldn't destroy it, it stalled on me. So I'm gonna need somebody to help me keep this thing running while I disconnect the jump box. Because it fired right up, I'm gonna say the fuel pump's good, and now it's got fresh spark plugs, but it will need some new gas real soon, and somebody to start driving this thing. So I'm gonna shut it down here and head out to look at another job. If you feel that this information was useful, please like it and share it with your social media friends. You can subscribe to my channel so that you will get notifications of future videos that I post. You can follow me on Twitter, and if you need to contact me directly, please visit my website. And if you have any questions, leave them below, and someone or myself will reply to them. Again, thank you very much for watching.